Hey friends! My name is Desiree, aka Mama Friendly, and I do all sorts of videos on my channel, cooking videos, vlogs, hauls, Disney content, a little bit of everything. So if any of that sounds like fun to you, I hope that you'll subscribe and join me on my YouTube adventure. Now, this is a little bit of a vlog, I guess. It's kind of different from my typical content. And I honestly don't know when or if this video will ever see the light of day, but I want to put this out there eventually because this is not really the start of the journey. It's been ongoing for a while now, but I guess this is like the beginning of the next big step. And so I want to put it out there, not just because it might be helpful to somebody, but also because I am a vlogger, I document my life, and so might as well tell you all a little bit about this. So again, I'm not sure when this video is coming out, if I ever put it out, but today, the day that I'm recording this, is May 29th of 2024. And in case you couldn't tell by the title, we are going to be starting IVF. Now, back in August of 2023, we did a lot of testing. Well, not back in August. August is when it all kind of culminated. We had been doing testing for several months prior to that. And so in August, all of the testing came together. And it was determined that I apparently have a genetic condition where basically the only thing affected is my reproductive system. It's a very emotional video when I talk about it, but I did in fact talk about it at the time that I found out what all was going on. And so if you're ready to cry along with me, potentially, I'll post that video up here, and I'm also going to have it in the description box of this video. Pretty much though, the long and short of it is that because of this condition, it does take me a lot longer to get pregnant. And when I do get pregnant, it's very possible that the egg that I released is not genetically compatible with life. As such, as of right now, to this day, I've been pregnant 4 times, and only one of them has resulted in a live birth. The other 3, basically, the egg and the sperm joined, the gestational sac started to form, but no baby ever actually grew because there were genetic components to the embryo, as it were, or what would have become the embryo, that were missing. So my body was pregnant, but no baby ever actually grew, and so eventually I miscarried. So it was determined by the fertility team that we were seeing that our best recourse for a live birth would be to do IVF, but specifically to do IVF with genetic testing. Meaning that I would have to go through the whole IVF process, but before they implant the embryo into my uterus for potential growing, they would genetically test each of these embryos to make sure that any of them were compatible with life, that were actually genetically whole before we went through the implantation process and attempted to actually be pregnant with any of these embryos. Because if we can't get past that step, then there's no point in doing implantation, because then even if I were to fall pregnant, I would end up miscarrying just as if I'd gotten pregnant on my own. So because I am an older mom at this point, I'm 38, I'll be 39 in just a few months, and because of this genetic situation I have going on, it's not looking great, to be honest. As it is, you typically have a very small amount of eggs you're working with. Like, you have to, it goes in phases, right? So obviously I'm just kind of flying off the seat of my pants here. I don't have actual figures in front of me, but let's say when you do your egg retrieval, you get 10 eggs, because 15 eggs, you're lucky. So let's say you get 10 eggs. Of those 10 eggs, let's say 7 of them survive. And those 7 will then get implanted with the sperm. Maybe 4 of them will take, right, and become embryos. But perhaps of those 4, none of them are genetically compatible with life. Or one of them is, and then that's the one that they would implant, and hopefully my body takes it and grows a baby from it. But the point is that just because you go through the expense of IVF, the physical everything of IVF, all the emotional stress of putting, that goes into IVF, there still is not a guarantee that any of it will work. And so a lot of people will say, well, then just do IVF. But those are people that have not looked into IVF and have not realized what all goes into it. I'm not really in a mental place right now to talk about why it's so important to expand our family. Besides the obvious, I just want more kids. And we've been trying for a really, really, really long time. And unfortunately, we only just found out less than a year ago that I have this genetic condition. If we'd found out 10 years ago, how wildly different would all of our lives be, right? But that's not how the cards were dealt. So we're doing what we can now with the information that we have. And the reason that I'm doing this video today is because today I'm finally going to call and make the appointments to start our first cycle of IVF. The reason I had to wait so long. So as I said, we found out in August of 2023 that IVF was pretty much going to be our only recourse, because we could continue trying to get pregnant on our own, but there was no guarantee that even if it did happen, that baby would be genetically healthy. So it took this long because the office that we're currently seeing, the office that we did all our testing at, etc., they have a BMI restriction for their the actual egg retrieval process, because for egg retrieval you typically have to undergo sedation and anesthesia of some sort, and the anesthesiologists tend to have a BMI restriction. Now, I am an extremely healthy woman that happens to be in a bigger body. I know I'm extremely healthy because I keep on top of all of my blood work, and I've never had an issue with blood pressure, high cholesterol, my blood sugar. Everything has always been top notch. I had to, in the last couple of years, get cardiac workups for potential issues. Turns out it was just anxiety, both times. But because of those workups, though, I know that my heart and my cardiac health is 100%. I have always been very, very careful about what I eat and making sure that I nourish my body well, with the occasional treat here and there. But I do eat a lot healthier, I think, not to judge anybody or to make this a hierarchical thing where well, I'm healthier than that person, but I've always taken very good care of myself is the point. I exercise every single day, at least 30 minutes, but typically 45 to 60 minutes a day. I don't know a lot of people that do that, period, but I do. And so I think that it's easy, because of how we are trained in society, to look at me and my larger body and think, well, she must not be very healthy at all. But any doctor that I've ever been to, much to their astonishment a lot of the time, can confirm that I am actually extremely, extremely healthy, despite my size or appearance. BMI was never intended to be used as a medical implement of health, or to be used as a determining factor in whether or not you're able to access certain procedures or certain care. As a matter of fact, it was not even created by a doctor, nutritionist, dietitian, or anything. It was created by a mathematician, and actually has some pretty racist origins. If you ever want to do a deep dive into BMI, I highly recommend that you do, because to put it as mildly as I can, BMI is BS. Period. But unfortunately, doctors still subscribe to it for whatever reason, even though it has zero medical or scientific bearing. And so because they had a BMI restriction, I needed at the time to lose think it was 55 pounds in order to make their cutoff. So I started my intentional weight loss journey, and basically all that changed because, like I said, I've already exercised every single day. I already watch what I eat and make sure that I eat to nourish my body. But I had to basically restrict calories. And that's also not a great thing, because using BMI as the crux of whether or not I get this treatment, well, what if I start to lose weight dangerously? What if I restrict my calories to the point that I start to damage my organs? What if I develop an eating disorder because of this? What if I'm just completely malnourished? All of these things also factor into a pregnancy, not to mention your general overall health. Kiddo's playing in his room. But they don't really care about any of that. They just want to see a specific number on the scale. So just that alone goes to show that the health of the potential mother is not priority one. Obviously, if you were to say that to them, they'd be deeply offended, because how dare you insinuate such a thing? But how do you justify everything that I've just said and still say that the health of the mother that's trying to get pregnant is the most important thing here? So it's taken me quite a long time. As I've said, it's at the end, we're at the end of May now, 2024. And as it is, I still have 12 to 13 pounds to go to meet their cutoff. But I don't know if I were to call today and try to make an appointment, can they see me next week? Or can they see me next month? Or does it take 2 or 3 months to set all this up? Surely by then I'll have met my goal. So I want to call them and try to set this up so that I have an idea of how much time I've yet to work with, and we can kind of go from there. The other thing is that since I've had all this time to continue to research and look into things, I've come across the information that the office that I've been at this whole time, the office that has this particular BMI restriction, they don't apparently have the best bedside manner, which that I can confirm, but also they don't have the best success rate, I guess. So I've looked around at other offices. I've called pretty much every office in South Florida that I know of, and I did find another one that not only has better ratings from people as far as like the customer service, the bedside manner of the doctors, and so on. They have a better success rate, which is something that you can't just go based on opinion. You either have the success rate or you don't, and they do. But their BMI restriction is more lenient. Every single office that I talked to has a BMI restriction. Theirs was the most lenient. The only thing that they require extra is that you have to go to the anesthesiologist as a patient. So it's not just a matter of the anesthesiologist will meet us at the fertility clinic when it's time. They want me to actually talk to the anesthesiologist and have the anesthesiologist assess me. Who knows how? Maybe they are going to look at a cardiac workup. Maybe they're going to, whatever factors it is that they would feel are necessary to say, despite her BMI, she is still a good candidate. They require that I do that. But at my current BMI, they will accept me as a patient. So if they say to me, I know it's not going to happen, but if they say to me, actually, we can see you tomorrow, come on in, we can do that, because I don't have to lose another 15 pounds in order for them to consider me for their office. So again, all that to say, BMI is BS. My weight should not be a bearing or a factor here. And there are people that are much smaller than me and much smaller bodies that are thinner, but that potentially are not as healthy as I am, and that could have problems with the anesthesia that I would not ever have despite of our weights. So just throwing that out there. So today is the day that I'm going to call both of these offices and see what they can tell me in terms of like how long will it take to get me in there, how long will it take before I can start my first cycle. And I'm also, here's the grand plan, right? Here's the hope, if all goes well, is that I will make videos throughout my IVF journey once the actual like cycle or cycles, who knows how many times we're gonna have to do this. Once this all begins, I wanna document the journey. All the deities willing, I managed to fall pregnant with a healthy baby, and I can document that journey as well. And I'm just gonna bank all these videos and keep them on my channel until the day comes that I feel ready to share them with you. And who knows, maybe all those videos will be the things that you're watching while I'm on my maternity leave. So that's the plan, but I felt it necessary, or important rather, to make this video now because this is still day 0 really. This is the great beyond. There's so much more that can potentially come of this, that will potentially come of this, but this is the before times, for lack of a better term. So I wanted to kind of lay the groundwork for what brought us here, where we're actually at, and what might be in the future. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, I hope that you'll join me for the ride. And all of the baby dust, all of the good vibes, all of the fingers crossed. I mean, if you're watching this, let's hope that it's because we have good news to share in the future, right? But all the same, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.